Yo guys, what is up? Max for a Diablo 4 video, and today we're going over my leveling guide for SORC in Season 2. Now, this is going to be a burn damage over time hydra build, combining hydras and firewalls with the new aspects that just increase our dot damage tremendously, and the new vampiric powers for conjurations. It should be really strong, and this is what I'm going to be rocking to get from level 1 to around level 60, and then I'll probably be transitioning into my experimental hydra build that I posted a guide on 2 days ago. So this is the guide that you can follow for level 1 through like 60, and then 60 to 100 is probably going to be the build that I posted a few days ago, which I'll have linked in the description if you want to check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's get right into it. So to start us out, we could go Firebolt with Glinting Firebolt to deal increased burning damage. We're just not going to have a lot of burning damage early, and Arc Lash is just the better skill than Firebolt. So late game, we can transition to Glinting Firebolt for the 25% burning, but early game, Arc Lash is just the best, like, basic attack that will actually kill enemies for us. Then we're going to come down to our core skills. Incinerate, even with its buffs, I just don't think is worth using until later when you can really get it going. So we're going to be using Fireball, grabbing Enhanced Fireball to get 50% radius. This is going to help clear domain tunnels. Domain tunnels is where I recommend leveling. It's just going to be the best experience this season. Then we're going to grab an extra point into Fireball and then grab Greater Fireball so that we're going to get that extra damage for all the burning damage that we're going to be dealing, which will be quite a bit very soon. Then we unlock our defensive skills. For our defensive skills, we're going to be grabbing our Flame Shield and our Teleport. We are not going to be putting points into Frost Nova or Ice Armor, which I will explain shortly. But with the changes to SORC, you just don't really need these anymore for this build. Then we're going to grab Enhanced Flame Shield, which is going to give us more movement speed while active, and it's going to heal us for 50% of our missing life. I don't think the mana is worth just because we are going to be in domain tunnels. There's going to be a lot of enemies, and this heal is very nice. Now we're 1 point away from our mastery skills, or conjuration skills, sorry. So we're going to be putting 1 point into Enhanced Teleport, which is going to reduce the cooldown of it. We will come back for this damage reduction later. Now we're going to be grabbing Hydra. Hydra and the buffed Summon Hydra to deal 60% of its base damage, as burn damage is going to be our big source of burning damage. And this also drops us at level 15, where it's a great point to grab our first enchantment. So at level 15, we're going to be grabbing our first enchantment, which is going to be Fireball. When you kill an enemy, they explode in a fireball for 50% of its damage. This is freaking fantastic. It's the best early game enchant. It works for your teammates. It'll just explode packs, and with the density of domain tunnels, this is just the best in slot choice. At level 15, you should probably be done with your step 1 of your season journey, which will unlock your seasonal aspects. And the seasonal aspect for SORC is absolutely crazy. It's Battlecaster, which when we have a lucky hit chance when our conjuration skills hit, to gain +1 ranks to our skills for 12 seconds, and it can stack up to 3 times. Base damage early on is unbelievably important. It'll be important for endgame as well, but we're going to be wanting to put this on one of our rings because you don't want to put it on a weapon or gloves or amulet, because those slots are going to be really important. Your rings just don't provide very much early on, and so we're going to want to slot this on a ring and hold it for quite a while at level 15, which is going to be great. And then we're going to be grabbing 2 vampiric powers. I do recommend doing some of your season stuff, because these vampiric powers, once you get them, you're going to be able to use them for the entire time. Those 2 vampiric powers are Coven's Fangs, which gives our 52% increased damage with our conjurations against crowd-controlled enemies, and a lucky hit chance for our conjurations to inflict vampiric curse. On top of that, we're going to get Prey on the Weak. You deal 16% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. Enemies are vulnerable while affected by vampiric curse from your other vampiric powers. This is going to give us 2 sources, a source of vulnerable on enemies that is not Frost Nova. You still can use Frost Nova early, but this ability is going to give us, our minions, the ability to make enemies vulnerable, which is going to be fantastic. We've now got 2 things that are relying on lucky hits. We're going to be putting these points into Precision Magic to give us 15% flat more lucky hit chance, which is going to be really, really nice. And that's going to unlock Firewall for us. We're going to go Enhanced Firewall for more burning damage. And then we're going to go Mage's Firewall. Enemies continue burning for 3 seconds after leaving Firewall. Firewall is going to be a lot of our damage at this point with our Hydras and all of our burning. So then we're going to start putting points into this so that we can unlock Inferno. So we're going to get Firewall up to 4. That is going to unlock Inferno for us. We're going to be grabbing Inferno. Here is our ultimate. We're going to pull enemies, and we don't use any mana while it's active. It's going to be really nice quality of life for us. And then we're going to be grabbing Fiery Surge, 1 point there. 1 point into endless pyre, and 3 points into warmth. This is going to put us at level 32. This is going to give us a lot of healing and survivability for all of the enemies that are going to be burning, particularly in domain tunnels. There's so many enemies, and so this is a great point to stop. We've got 2 more points that we need to point to our ultimate, but we're going to stop and grab a few more aspects. Now that we're level 30 or 32, we can grab our second enchant slot. We have 2 options here. The Hydra enchant slot after spending 200 mana of 5-headed Hydra spawns for 5 seconds, which is really nice, or a lucky hit chance that we deploy firewalls on D4 builds right now. It's saying each time an enemy takes burning damage, there's a 5% chance. Pretty positive it's a 25% chance on lucky hit for burning damage to spawn 2 firewalls. Both are great. I've messed around with both. I like both. I don't think there's like a right or wrong answer here. For this particular guide, we are going to stick with the firewall enchant, but the Hydras are really great. The reason I'm not particularly going for the Hydra is because the Hydra is a little bit better at single target damage, and our priority for leveling is going to be AoE damage, which I think firewall just fills that priority a bit better. So our 2 enchantment slots for leveling are going to be fireball and firewall. Back to our skill tree, we've got 2 more points to spend before we can get our capstone passive. We're going to be maxing out Firewall, getting that to rank 5, and putting 1 more point into Fiery Surge for even more mana regen whenever we kill a burning enemy. And that's going to lead us to our Combustion passive. Your burning effects deal 20% increased damage and an additional 2% per unique source of burning you have applied to the enemy. This is just going to help us with our burn damage a ton. At this point, we're going to start rounding out the build. The order here doesn't matter as much. If you want more damage, you can go for more damage. If you want more survivability, you can go for some more survivability. This is just going to be rounding out the build for the things that we need. So we're going to grab Shimmering Teleport. This is going to give us 30% damage reduction for 3 seconds after teleporting, which is really nice. We're also going to grab 1 point into Align the Elements and 3 points into Mana Shield. Every time you spend 100 mana, you gain 21% damage reduction for 5 seconds. We are going to do this to compensate for our next pickup, which is going to be 3 points into Glass Cannon. That is going to allow us to get increased damage, but we're going to take more damage. So the damage reduction here and the damage reduction from Shimmering Teleport are designed to grab those first, and then we can spec into a Glass Cannon. Now that we're level 43, we're going to swap back over, take a small break to pick up another Vampiric Power. If you haven't grabbed these 2 yet, make sure that you do, and also some more aspects. Also, I forgot to mention, as soon as you grab Firewall, we're no longer going to be casting Fireball, so we're going to be unequipping Firewall for Fireball. So now we've got Firewall on our bar. This is going to be kind of our core skill. Use Firewall as like a core skill cast, and then we're putting on Inferno, and Fireball will just be casting as our enchantment. We are going to grab the Undying Minor Power. Casting skills heals you for 3% of your life. We've got a lot of bonuses while healthy. This is going to help us stay healthy, and if we get below 50% life, we get that bonus doubled. So this is going to help us stay alive. I'm not going to show like major powers because obviously the big major power to grab is going to be this one. Flowing Veins, 60% increased damage over time to enemies that are moving or affected by Vampiric Curse. This is going to be fantastic. I just don't know if it's going to be reliable to slot a major power while you are leveling. And so obviously if you can fit this, do it. But if you can't, don't worry about it. I don't think we're going to need any of these major power boosts for like our leveling journey. Lastly, we're going to grab the aspect of Disobedience on top of our healing and other things. This is just going to give us another survivability boost because we are now level 43, so we're gearing up for taking on the World Tier 3 challenge. At this point, we're just going to be rounding out the build, so we're going to be putting 2 points into Endless Pyre for increased burning damage, 1 point into Fiery Surge for killing a burning enemy is going to give us even more mana regen. Then we're going to be grabbing Inner Flames for our Pyromancy skills to deal increased damage while we are healthy. We've got more sources of staying healthy now. We're also going to be grabbing Crippling Flames for a chance to immobilize enemies, 30% lucky hit chance to immobilize. We do have some damage increases that we're going to have against like CC'd enemies, and we just don't have any source of CC for fire besides Crippling Flames. So that's a pretty important pickup. And this is going to leave us with 7 points. We are going to put points into our Hydra to round that out. I didn't put points into Hydra before just because it doesn't scale all that well compared to other skills with increases to its points. As you can see, it's only getting 1% increased damage per point, but the burn damage scales off of the base, so we're increasing our burn damage by putting points into the base. Not the most important thing of all time. And then lastly, we're just going to be putting last 3 points into Protection. Whenever we're using a cooldown, we get 30% of our max life as barrier for 3 seconds. This is just another source of survivability for the build, and that is going to be the leveling skill skill tree for our burn hydra SORC. For like wishlist aspects, these are aspects that don't have a like dedicated dungeon to go for, but if you can get them, they're going to be incredible for you. Are the newly buffed aspect of engulfing flames. This is going to give us, if we put it on our amulet slot, and if you get it to like actually drop, up to 150% more burn damage if enemies are affected by more damage over time than their total life, and could be up to 45% bonus burning damage to enemies who are below 50% of their total life. So this is just going to be so much extra burn damage for us. And the serpentine aspect will also allow us to summon an additional hydra. That is going to be really nice. For like defensive aspects, one really nice one that's going to be great is the aspect of might. You're going to get more damage reduction after you basic attack, and we're going to be basic attacking with Arc Lash fairly often. And then for major powers, the big major powers, if you can, I do have a full guide, by the way, of this for endgame. The build changes quite a bit, but it's still kind of the same idea. But you're going to want Flowing Veins for the increased damage over time to enemies that are moving or affected by Vampiric Curse. Remember that our Hydras can inflict enemies with Vampiric Curse with their lucky hit, and we just grabbed the aspect that allows us to summon 2. And then the bigger one is a Curse Touch. Lucky hit up to a 44% chance to inflict Vampiric Curse on enemies. Now, all of our abilities can inflict Vampiric Curse, and there's a chance for Vampiric Curse to spread. This allows us to get enemies vulnerable without having to use Frost Nova on this build and giving us an increased damage to vulnerable enemies. And then our serpents and our own damage will all have a chance to proc vulnerable on enemies. This should make this feel really, really good. Guys, that is going to do it for the build guide. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, I will have this full linked leveling setup in the description and the pinned comment if you want to follow along while you're leveling. I hope you guys the best with your season launch today. And if you plan on using this build, or if you do use this build, let me know how you enjoy it. I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.